Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Baldies. We're in day 4 of Deliberations. We're going to try to take on the best male actor. So the eligibility of this, show had to be on. It has to be a television show, no movies. Had to come out between January 1st and December 31st, 2021. And that's it. You have to identify as male in the role. Before we start, we had an inside joke where I flipped a CR 2032 battery, and I mentioned I had some bald move history, but it's like predates bald move. Do you remember what I'm talking about? There's an episode of the old Power Play on the Gong radio show where our old partner Peter Street was just going on and on and on mentioning CR 2032s by name because they were the power source for this particular rumble pack or memory thing. And I don't know, because I used to be a big fan of that show, and just like that CR 2032 has been seared in my memory.
God, I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and listen.
That's 20 years ago, right?
It was 2006, so it's getting there.
Jesus. Okay.
Right, man?
Let's start. We got everything's kind of like by show, so you'll hear a lot of stuff. These are in no particular order. We're going to put them in order. Jason Sudeikis from Ted Lasso. We're just doing up to the top, float, or to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Brett Goldstein, Roy from Ted Lasso. In this context, I'm saying float.
Sure. Float him.
Nick Muhammad, Nate from Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso, float.
Float.
Tawheed Jamo from Sam from Ted Lasso, float.
Ted Lasso is the it of male actors. We all float down here.
That's true. Still the comedy keeps coming. Matt Berry as Laszlo, What We Do in the Shadows, to the top or float.
This was not his Jackie Daytona season, although he did have some good stuff.
Daytona season. No, it wasn't. I would say this is a less Laszlo heavy. This was a lot more Nandor and Nadia heavy, which is fine.
Yeah. And he had an episode or two to shine with Colin, but yeah.
Floating?
Sure. Yeah,
floating in the air like a bat. Joel Kinnaman, Ed Baldwin for All Mankind.
Here we
floating
go.
Or to the toppin'?
Let's to the top. I feel like all these dramas are going to the top on these comedies.
But too bad, Jason. You had your reign at the top for a bit there, Ted Lasso.
I mean, I think Jason Sudeikis might be the exception though, because he's got a great scene in that season. But we'll talk about it.
Michael Dorman, Gordo from All Mankind.
To the top. Come on.
To the top with Gordo. Whoops. Got into the female actors. Keon Alexander.
Ooh.
As the arch villain Marco from season 6 of The Expanse.
I do like what he's putting on screen. It's just he's an unlikable guy. He's a likable guy in an unlikable scenario. I don't know. He's a likable bad guy.
Jim Jones.
Yeah.
Taking the oppressor's line in their undue persecution of the actor Keon Alexander. That's my dime store Marco.
Yeah, it's not bad.
James Holden of the Rocinante.
I don't know, man. Keon, he's doing what he needs to do, but
that's the thing. I'm trying to float, sink, or rise because we're going to talk about all these guys as we go through the fine pass. But these sounds like we're not going to the top them.
Probably not. Probably float him.
Okay. How about his son, Josiah Chase Owens, who plays Philip on The Expanse?
He's less one note, and I liked what he's doing. I might to the top him.
Interesting.
What do you think?
All right. Fuck you, Keon Alexander. I always find it interesting that people, like, when you can play a villain that's good. Like, I think having an instantly punchable face is either got one or you don't.
Yeah.
But then taking that and maximizing the heat that you get, like, I think is a talent. And I think this guy's got it.
I mean, if you want to the top Keon, well, we totally can.
I definitely think Josiah's doing more interesting performance. So yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We might change our mind. I tell you what, though, Lee Pace playing Brother Day needs to go straight to the fucking top from Foundation.
Yep.
We'll have a lot to say about that here in a minute. Also, what about Jerry Harry? He was in Foundation for about 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm, and
but he's really
season.
good.
He is, but it's also not his most impressive role. You know, it's like he's there doing what he needs to do. He's got the one scene in the court.
He's got the one scene in the court, yeah,
and that's kind of,
and he's kind of coasting the rest of the season.
He's got the other, giving a speech scene to the people on the ship who are headed to Terminus.
We're gonna float Jerry Harry.
Yeah, I'd float him based on this role. Sorry, Harry.
All right, Terrence Mann.
Oh, to the top, baby.
To the top. Here we go.
Yeah,
I don't know why that keeps happening.
Some of the shit he's doing.
That's Brother Dusk from Foundation, and we got the matching set, Brother Dawn from Foundation, Cassian Bilton.
We kind of put him on here just to talk about him briefly.
All right, well, let's leave him in the float zone.
Because I would float him.
He's in that Keon, Jerry, Cassian float zone.
Mm-hmm. He's on the float.
Okay. Himesh Patel, Jeevan from Station 11.
Yeah, I really like him. I like this actor, and I'm not sure I know exactly why.
He's got really good comic timing and also really good dramatic chops, and he's also like a Paul Giamatti, like kind of woodchuck type of man, which I always identify with and enjoy in Hollywood. Like a character actor who's also just out there kind of like getting these lead roles. I dig that. I think he's to the top.
So I know he has more range than he shows in this show, because his character is a lot like Jason Bateman's character in Ozark, where when he's presented with bad news or a challenge or something, he doesn't have much of an outward reaction. He's kind of like, he's got one go-to reaction that he uses for all scenarios in this show, but I've seen him in other stuff and I know he can do more. But yeah, I really liked him in the show, so I could to the top him.
All right, second to
if
the
you're
top.
interested.
What about David Wilmont, who's Clark from Station 11?
I think he definitely needs to be at the top. He's a big part of that season, and I think he's got a lot of complicated material to work with.
Okay, fine.
I know you weren't super enamored with. Oh no, you didn't even put him to the top. You wouldn't even put him at number one. You said, nah, he can't be at number one.
That's
for
because
any amount
I knew
of time.
Nicholas Holt was going to the top from his work on the grade. Okay. That didn't take very long. Again, not a lot of prestige. Even when we were going through, and a lot of this stuff was like ensemble.
Yes.
And no one's work was kind of standing out. We can talk about maybe some honorable mentions as we go through this. But let's start with Nicholas Holt. So Nicholas Holt, and I've said this again, he is the best version of a character like Joffrey Baratheon I've ever seen. To the extent that late in season 2, you're kind of coming around on this guy and being like, you know what? Maybe Catherine the Great should give this guy another chance, despite all of the terrible things he's done, despite all the murder and death he's responsible for. You kind of want, he's that fucking charming and he's that well written. I think it's amazing that you can be like this watchable as a villain. And, before I saw him on The Great, I didn't think much of this guy. This was like a genre work kind of guy. And he's just so fucking funny. And also with enough acting that he can do, because the way you turn the corner in anybody like this is you start to you start to figure out like, you know what? If I grew up the way this guy grew up, maybe I'd be as fucked up and I would look at life a lot different, know? And you got to be able to engage the audience's empathy to even have a shot at that. And this is not like just me. Like, this is all anyone ever talks about in the show, is that like how good this guy is, the villain. I think that's hard. Like, cause I can't imagine like Jack Gleason turning that corner on Game of Thrones, like I've said, like imagine in Brown season 3, you're like, you know what? Sansa really should rethink about how yeah, sure, he cut off her dad's father or her dad's head, but it's pretty amazing. He probably won't stick at number one.
Probably not.
Argue for David Wilmot, because I thought Clark was a very empty suit character, like a charlatan fraud character, and I understood his character like as that, and then he also was this like serious thespian that's in the quoting Shakespeare and stuff. It just didn't do it for me. So I'm not going to fight you taking him over Nicholas Holt, but like, yeah.
I thought Clark was a very insecure man, and the way that like they portray that, the way that David Wilmot portrays that is with a lot of fronting, right? Like I felt like he was second banana to what's his name? The very charismatic actor in that show.
Yeah, the dad of the product. I can't remember it either.
But he was kind of second banana to him in his acting career and as a person, right? Like the other guy was just more charming and everyone liked him, and Clark felt we're sneaking into the video here.
Sorry, I was trying to move something around. My fault.
No problem. And the way he portrays that is like as a guy who wants to make himself appear more important and appear more established as a human being than he is. And then you see those cracks from time to time, and you especially see those cracks where like the relationship he has with the other actor guy whose fucking name I need to look up because I'm going to be talking about him for a while. And if Arthur, it's Arthur.
There you go.
His relationship with Arthur, how that manifests, and like the breakdown, especially later in that season when you see him kind of hanging out with Arthur, and he goes overboard on his drinking, and then he tells Arthur what he really thinks about him, and it kind of reveals who he is and the mask he's been wearing the whole time. And I thought of all of the actors in this show, he had some of the most complex work to do. And you can argue about, whether the character is likable or whatever, but I think David Wilmot did a fantastic job portraying all these different aspects of a very insecure man trying to step into a role that even he doesn't feel like he fully owns in that airport stuff. So
here's my criticism, because I hear what you're saying there, and I guess what I was looking for, if that was what they're going for, is there should be a duality. Like when he's giving his speeches in front of the press, he should look completely composed and utterly confident. And then you see the fractures behind the scenes. But like I said, I always thought he seemed like a bullshit artist, even when he was doing his public proclamations. Like at the end of his like big rotunda speech at the airport, like instead of like cheering and clapping, I'd have been like, boo, you fuck, we're not leading you, like I would be actively trying to depose this guy because he just seems like an idiot. And I don't think it's David Wilmot's problem. I think it's the way the character was adapted from the source. It just did not like that. That's what I'm saying. Like that. I felt like to be effective, I had to feel the magic spell that he was able to cast, and he wasn't able to get there for me. But that could be my fucked up expectations, or the fact that just like that particular plot, I had a whole bunch of like little nitpicks to, and it all just kind of added up and tarnished him. But
yeah, I know you really had problems with that fifth. I think it's the fifth episode where that happens. All the airport stuff. Yeah, I mean,
but I also thought he was like terrible as Hamlet's father, like that. I just thought when he broke scene in the middle of the thing, the I don't know, to confront the cult boy leader, I thought that was goofy too. It felt like a flubbed line more than I don't know. There's so many things I just felt false about that and his performance, and again, it could have been the writing, but like is the opposite of how I felt about Hamesh Patel's like natural work with the little girl version of Mackenzie Davis. Like I thought his stuff was like solid, and I always believe like I bought his not reluctant guardianship, but kind of like the resentful guardianship.
Yeah.
But also
I didn't know this was going to turn into what it turned into, right?
Yeah, it's like,
when
God, I'm a good guy, but
Yeah.
what the fuck does that mean? What is the terms of a good guy? When do they expire? And also, I'm not a monster, so I'm going to try to like, you know, give it a go. And I felt like that stuff was really good work, and David Wilmot was very just unconvincing.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I saw as many aspects of Jeevan as I saw of Clark, which to me, you know, makes the acting a little bit easier because you can kind of hit a couple of notes and be good. Whereas I felt like Clark had a lot of complex character points, but I will say I thought it was super satisfying, the sort of conclusion to the Jeevan and Kirsten arc. And I thought like you get a couple more layers toward the end of that season with Jeevan where, you know, he's got sort of a new life and then his old life reintroduces itself in a weird way. I did appreciate what he was doing in those scenes for sure.
Who'd you say was the main, his acting friend?
Arthur. Yeah.
I thought some of the stuff he did with Arthur and dealing with his addiction and kind of like his latent feelings for him, I thought that stuff that didn't matter to the big picture so much was good stuff, but all the stuff that was like structural about him being the part of the triumvirate and all that, I just didn't buy it. But he's sitting there at number 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, since we both like Jeevan so much, I might be inclined to put him above David Wilmot, but
I would do it easy.
But I also like the stuff that Clark had with Miranda. I thought some of that stuff was good, but it wasn't a huge part of the season.
Okay.
The other thing about Jeevan is that episode where he ends up in the pregnancy center or whatever it is.
That
was a very good episode as well.
Yeah.
And he did some
interesting stuff. He had a lot of
different
things he could do.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, there was a lot more variety in that performance than I first gave credit for. A lot of
seasons to him, like, you know, the unsure, kind of resentful, something foisted upon him, the less reluctant, more like learning to kind of give in to the chaos of life and be a servant. And then the one that's integrated all those things, and he's kind of like a Zen master at the end. Best part of the show, like that him and Mackenzie Davis made I felt like Station 11 worth my time. Although again, I'm an outlier. Most people like this a lot more than I did. So like, you know, I still think it's worth watching for the main arc that comprises a third of the show and just how beautiful it is. Shall we move on to Terrence Mann? I'm going to easily put him over David Wilmot for myself. I think Brother Dusk is not the greatest of the brothers.
No, it's probably Lee Pace, but like, I don't know. It's so hard to separate all these guys because the casting is so perfect here. Together. Yeah, and the way they play off each other is so good.
And then also,
and they're playing each other from time to time, right? Like Terrence Mann plays the character that Lee Pace starts playing in this series. So
that's the really interesting thing, is to see definitely you can see like the Lee Pace of this generation, because this character, just to get you kind of hot for Foundation, because I think, you know, Foundation is flawed, but holy hell, the stuff that they're doing right is done very well.
Yeah.
They're playing what they call a genetic dynasty, which the emperor of mankind, like some 100 years ago, decided that he was going to be the last one, and he has clones made, and they decant these clones 30 30 years apart. So when old man Cleon at 90 is dying, they've got the newborn out of the tank, who becomes Brother Day. The 30-year-old brother Dawn, or no, he becomes Brother Dawn. The 30-year-old Brother Day, who was Dawn, now becomes Brother Day, and then the prime Brother Day becomes Brother Dusk, and they just keep on doing. So Lee Pace is always Brother Day,
and there's this
Terrence
cycle
Mann
of
is always Brother Dusk,
of learning, of control, and of wisdom that it kind of all feeds back into each other, and we get to see
a triune emperor figure.
And we get to see multiple eras of that, right, over the course of this first season. So the characters we know as Brother Day and Brother Dawn become Brother Dusk and Brother Day by the end of it.
Yeah, and seeing Terrence Mann in the later season playing the Lee Pace character recognizably, like he's got different mannerisms and but they're all clones, so it's all very subtle work too.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult work, and Terrence Mann slapped Lee Pace in the in the production of this series. I think it's great. I think I think it's better than I think. I have a hard time putting it over Himesh Patel. Also, I'm not sure that Nicholas Holt should be at the top. What the fuck? I'm
totally unsure because I've not seen it.
I think both. Okay, so I think both of the Station 11 guys should go over Nicholas Holt.
Okay.
Terrence Mann, I would put over Nicholas Holt. I'd put over David Wilmot, and that's about where he would stop.
Okay.
Do you say no, or you think that's about right?
Or
do you think he has trouble getting over David Wilmot?
Trying to remember the standout stuff. Terrence Mann has a lot of good stuff in here. He can be very menacing, right? When he's when he's like finding out about Brother Don's deception, and
so there's big,
he can also
your father gets home energy.
Feel very frail and unimposing in his final moments.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of variety in that performance. And that's something I value.
I forgot that he plays Brother. I thought they had a different actor for Brother Dusk, but they don't.
No, Brother Dusk and Brother.
That's just Terrence Mann in real heavy old man makeup. Interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd put him over. I'd put him over David Wilmot. Do you feel comfortable with that or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. But not over Himesh. I don't know why we don't put him over. I mean, now that I'm talking about it.
Man, that's a tough one. Because let's leave him there for now and see what Lee Pace does.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, Lee Pace is going right over Terrence Mann for me.
Okay, can you defend why Lee Pace has a higher position here than Terrence Mann? Because Lee Pace doesn't have to do what Terrence Mann does. I never feel like Lee Pace is playing the aged Brother Dawn, whereas I feel like Terrence Mann is playing an aged Brother Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I definitely get that the second Brother Day is the first Brother Dawn.
I mean, he says it a couple of times,
but you don't actually get the performance aspect of it.
Not as much.
I just think that Lee Pace has a hell of a lot more to do. Like he does. The Spiral episode, he was amazing.
I mean, the early goings where he's puffing his chest out in front of Harry.
Or he killed one of his court mathematicians just with his sheer force of will and scariness. Right.
And the execution after, the Scar stuff happened with the space elevator coming down. Those scenes are very impressive.
Yeah, and he's a little bit scenery chewy, but kind of in the way that role is called for. Like he is the personification of a galactic empire that's larger and more grander than anything we've ever seen in fiction. So you kind of start off in high camp gear. but you're right. Terrence Mann is doing more subtle work, but Lee Pace is just like painting with big, broad strokes.
Yeah,
but I like that.
It's a delight to watch for sure.
It's so much fun, and Lee Pace is just so. Also, oh my god, the scene in the courtyard where he's outlining exactly how he's going to erase this woman from all human she's going to be erased from the universe, like almost in a godlike way, like God blotting you out of the book of life, kind of thing. That's a great scene.
He plays a pretty terrifying character.
Yeah. But he's also sympathetic. He also plays like childlike when he's like dealing with Burns character. Shit, what is
Demerzel.
that? Demerzel. Yes, thank you, Jesus. So
but also in a
over.
Deceptive way. Yeah, I think I can get behind it.
I think. Could you get it behind putting him over Jeevan? Brother Don or Brother Day going over Brother Jeevan?
Yeah.
Okay, I think so too, but I don't think Terrence does. I don't know how to justify that. I'm a sucker for
Terrence Mann. I really
don't know how
think
I justify that.
He's good, even though he's not as big of a part to play. The scary thing I'm looking down this list is going to be this For All Mankind block. I'm terrified of that block.
Man, yeah.
I'm terrified of that block for the female actors as well, because holy shit.
Yeah. Why can't I find Terrence? If I spelled Terrence Mann, here we go. There's two Terrence Manns going on right now. One's a basketball player.
Okay.
Oh, right. This guy was Rum Tum Tugger in Cats.
Weird.
That's why I love him so much. Okay. What else we want?
Josiah Chase Owens.
Josiah Chase Owens. So this is a guy who I almost just want to talk about.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to talk about the casting. This guy looks literally like the son of Naomi Nagata and Marco Inaros.
Yeah.
The way that they split the difference between Keon Alexander and Dominic Tipper is crazy. And I think that's like, if you find a person that and can also play young, like he plausibly could be a 17, 18-year-old. There's kids at my son's high school, like seniors, that look like this guy.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability, like I think he does a good job at playing like where he's switching between kind of his mother's archetype and his father's archetype, and trying to find a way so that daylight where he can please them both. Maybe he plays really well as a conflicted teenager caught in a terrorist war. But
there's but. Well, I was gonna say, and I don't know what other gears this guy has, Josiah has, but based on this performance, he plays really well as like the character who thinks he needs to be strong and is putting that on, because it comes through in the performance, right? That this is not actually how he feels; it's just how he needs to act in this moment. Yeah. I think he's very, very good at that.
Trying to think, because it is I think like his best scene is the ones where he is like getting to know that his coworker that's like they're doing a hull repair, and he finds out about his brother. Like he's kind of finding out like the lies of his father through the lens of this information. This guy, he's destroying his faith in his father. This guy has no idea what he's doing. I think he did that. That's really good.
Yeah, especially when he finds out that his brother was on that station, and like the consequences of his own actions coming home to roost are like, those are the best parts of his performance for sure.
And just how well I think Keon Alexander, because like a lot of the reasons I hate him so much is how brutal he is with his son in terms of the emotional abuse. and the roles wouldn't work together as they wouldn't work as well as they do together. I don't know that he goes higher than this.
I was gonna say. That said, I feel like he's right where he needs to be at the moment, and I'm looking forward to more of his stuff.
Can we talk about Michael Dorman as Gordo from All Mankind? Because what a fucking arc! This guy was such a kind of a loser in the beginning of this, like the end of last season, beginning of this, just kind of and the way that they turned that around and got him to be the hero. Like, how high does he rise?
Pretty damn high. I'm a sucker for Michael Dorman. I think he is great. I need to refresh my memory on some of the plot points of season 2 of For All Mankind, because I don't remember exactly how he turns out. I remember a general arc, right? He's got like his kids who are grown now, trying to go off to school. He's kind of been left alone. He's down in the dumps, and he wants to get back into space, right? But he doesn't even really like. It's not his idea, right? It's Ed's idea, trying to get his friend out of the hole.
Yeah, but he doesn't know like how deeply traumatized he was by the experience. Like he's got like, and he's trying to
help his friend who.
Yeah.
Like he knows is sort of broken too, right? Because he remembers how fucked up Gordo got in this moon base last season.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I don't know, in that typical like 1950s macho be a man kind of way, he's just telling his friend to get his shit together. Just pick yourself up and dust yourself off, man, and go back out to space in the exact same scenario you were in before. And Gordo like halfway gets there, you know? I don't know. It's a really, really good arc.
He gets like he's like trying to white knuckle exposure therapy. I feel like, you know, like
it's such a bad idea.
But it works because he wants to get Tracy back so much.
Right.
And that's the thing is like I also felt like they'd be such a pathetic thing, and it ends up being like kind of sweet and poignant in the way he kind of goes about it is gallant. You know, like he goes
like I'm gonna try and get you back, but on your terms, right? Like
yeah. And I thought the way they handled that was pretty good for a soap opera-y as some of the other plots got to be on this season. How high does he rise? That's the only question I have now, Jim.
Like I said, I'm a sucker for him. I'd go
to the top,
at least number 4 at the moment, and then we can start talking.
Okay. I think he's better than Terrence Mann. I don't know. Yeah, I do. I kind of do.
This is so subjective. I think he's better.
God, I don't know. We're gonna get the fucking Ted Lasso. Then we're gonna get the Ted Lasso, and this is just so
right.
If Barry came back this year, it'd be even harder. Like,
oh shit. Well, get ready for next year, man.
I know. This guy, I feel very uncomfortable about this category. Can we just give it to 10 dudes and, you know?
Sure. 10 out of 10. They all win.
Yeah. They're all good. Okay, so do you think he's better, gun to your head, better than Terrence Mann's Brother Dusk?
I mean, I think Michael Dorman has more charm in one of his pinky fingers than anybody else on this list. I think Michael Dorman is fantastically charming, and he turns it on every once in a while in this season. The season 1, he's like next level charming. In this, he's kind of beaten down, but when he gets with Tracy, there's just like, I don't know, an electricity that comes off of both of them.
Yeah, they play real good. They play real well together.
Yeah, and I don't see that in any of these other places.
Okay.
And he does have some very complex things to do. It's not like he just needs to smile.
Are you saying to the top?
I'm kind of want to put him to the top, man.
Oh, man. I don't know. Okay, to the top.
What do you think?
Shit.
All the way. He broke the scale.
He he killed the category. Okay.
Well, how do you feel? How do you feel?
I don't know about that, but I don't know about Lee Pace being at top because it's such a hammy performance, such a big performance. I think there's people seething. There's Station 11 people seething. I don't know.
I get it, but those people might not have seen For All Mankind.
How about Joel Kinnaman? Because I'm going to say Joel Kinnaman as the, he's been the kind of guy we've been talking about, the guy pushing Gordo to greatness.
Yeah.
And we have talked about that he is kind of like a solid guy. He was okay as the Republican challenger in House of Cards. He's pretty good as
Takeshi Kovacs,
I
whatever.
forgot about
Altered Carbon.
Coven. I thought he was pretty good in season 1 of that. I thought he was pretty good as the Colonel Flag in Suicide Squad.
Oh, right.
He is very buttoned down, military, efficient, precise, can be a bully. But the scene that really blew me away was when he came home and his wife and adopted daughter had negotiated between what they thought would be the real conflict of letting her go to Annapolis to go to West Point like her father. West Point? That's my RB. Annapolis, the Naval College, whatever.
Yeah.
They go to Navy for school, and he, because they previously lost their son in last season, just fucking comes unglued and forbids it, and it's a frightening scene. And
it's terrifying, because he's a very imposing man. He's large, he's very muscular, very tall,
and he doesn't mind using, as it happens, and he doesn't mind using his physical power to intimidate people from time to time. And he does it as family, but then they all kind of walk themselves back from that familial cliff. And that scene is just fan-fucking-tastic. It's one of the things where I was edge of my seat this season watching. So it's
one of the best scenes I saw all year. It's fantastic.
I totally agree. I just don't know how to weight that one scene in just one performance, because otherwise this guy is very structurally important to the show, but he doesn't get to do, because of his character's nature, he doesn't get to do a lot of flashy stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. I feel like he can go up a couple of spots, but he might end up at 6.
I'm having a hard time. Yeah.
Just because of the nature of the role.
I even have a hard time putting him over Nicholas Holt, to be honest.
Okay.
I might adjust that. I don't know. I'll see how I feel. Oh man, Jason Sudeikis. He's so good.
And yeah. I mean, that's Ted Lasso.
And there's a lot. He's so good that there's a parts in the early going of Ted Lasso season 2 where I'm has the writers' room lost their touch? Because Ted Lasso's the shine on a star is just a little bit off. But by the time you see the whole season, I think that's a deliberate trajectory that he is having a harder and harder time.
Yeah.
Holding on to this cornpone optimism in the face of life kicking him in the teeth and things not going the way, and him not processing his own bullshit, even though he's telling everybody else to handle theirs. So
and as that cracks
pretty fucking
more,
nuanced.
And as it cracks more, it gets even better, because people start to notice, and he knows that people start to notice. And his stuff with the therapist this season is pretty fantastic. He has that monologue when he finally breaks down. In front of her.
Jesus, God damn it! I
got searching happening. Yeah. I see in your DMs. I'm seeing all kinds of shit.
My God. Okay.
But yeah, the monologue, the interaction with his therapist when he finally breaks down, and that whole series of interactions with her, actually, it's fantastic.
I almost thought about Sarah. Nominating Sarah Niles for this, but the thing is they direct her like George Lucas directs Natalie Portman in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
She's just extremely calm and reserved therapist person, and it's great, but it's not got a lot of range to it. You know, it's the same thing with Coach Beard. Is like like should we put Coach? But like Coach Beard is also very even though he had like probably the most Gonzo episode, which I didn't think worked for me very well, because he is like this. He's just kind of like this one note, and that's the show's built on that part of his performance. So then when they did give him an episode to kind of fly, I'm like, I don't know if I buy this Beard.
Yeah,
but
I'm with you. But Jason Sudeikis is clearly the star of that show.
Yeah. How high does he go? Because I'm having a hard time.
I can put him over Kinnaman.
Man. Okay, what about? Well, you're the Clark banner waiver, so
the Clark wall. I'm standing along the Clark wall with my rifle out, guarding it furiously.
He's at number 6, right? Because that's the thing. The top 5 is where the Baldy glory is at. You got honorable mention top 10 sometimes, but top 5 is what gets read out.
I don't know. I could almost see him going over Clark.
Yes, extinguish Clark from the top 5. Get him out. Get him out. Don't want him sullying my award show. This is the wrong way to go about negotiating with Jim, by the way.
Right, I'll just dig in.
He'll spite me. Spite me. Dig in spite.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I like Jason Sudeikis. He's got a lot of charm. He's got a lot of... And he impresses me as like a guy I think is primarily a comic actor. Thoroughly impressed by his dramatic chops.
Fucking
he's like a Bob Odenkirk. In the way he's surprising me there.
And Bill Hader.
Yeah,
all these funny guys can turn on the drama too. Okay, do we want to put him over David Wilmot or no?
Yeah, let's bump him up one.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to Brett Goldstein, who's Roy on Ted Lasso, and
love Roy.
There's another guy who's pretty much one note, although honestly, the stuff that he did with the Juno Temple and his I guess it's his niece
niece, yes.
where he shows some vulnerability, because this character is invulnerable. He is a hard man, as they call him in the show, and that's kind of like he's professionally known as being a guy who will kick your ass and not shed a tear about it. And then when he actually starts getting in touch with his emotions, but it's still it's very much like the therapist role we mentioned before with Sarah Niles. It's just like, you know, he just kind of he's got the eyebrows and he talks like this, and
he curses a lot.
Everyone's afraid of him. He curses a lot. He doesn't blow a whistle. He just screams whistle. I just want to talk about him. I think it's a great fucking character that he's created and conceived, and then decided no one else could play him but himself.
Yeah. And I don't know. Let's talk about Nick Muhammad, because I think that's a slightly more interesting version of a one-note character, because he's coming to his own this season.
And that's the thing, is like his public face is a one-note thing, but anytime they show like him in private moments where he's like physically abusing himself and spitting at himself in a mirror, and like ego surfing Twitter for Nate the Great stuff, and
then like disrupted by the one thing that says maybe Nate's not so great, and then he just fucking goes off.
His nice guy fragility is frightening. Like when you see like how vicious he's able to be to someone that he thinks is one down from him. Like there's like, you know, Nate's a very sympathetic character, but there's so much fucked up psychology behind him.
Yes. And I think
they worked really hard to fine tune that performance all season long. I was really impressed by it. I think it's better than Brett for sure. Like, I think it's up there with what Nicholas Holt is doing.
Yeah. Does Joel Kinnaman... I think Joel Kinnaman might get bumped down a notch by Nick.
Okay. And then Tohei Jimo...
Sam.
Sam.
He's got this complicated relationship with Rebecca all season.
That's the problem. I didn't like that storyline. I thought that I can't believe a show as smart as this show is failed to touch on the potential minefield It was almost like a propriety thing. It's like, oh, if the guy, man, that's just the start of how fucked
the
up
conflict of interest is, and they get there, but they just brush up against it. They don't really dwell on it.
Right. And Sam is so just unambiguously good. Yeah. Almost like a saint-like character. He's got this strong relationship with his father. He takes these strong social stances. He's the leader of the spiritual. Well, I don't think he's the leader of the team, actually, but he's like one of the stalwarts of the team. But he never gets angry or upset or even really hurt, and he only makes good decisions. I think he's a good character here. He's a good comedy hero, but like it doesn't give this guy a chance to shine at all. So like I think he's kind of floating down here with Brett.
Yeah, other than his amazing smile, he doesn't.
He has got an amazing smile.
Yeah.
And I think they're setting him up for some growth and pathos in the next season, because he's the one that, like, we keep on. I think everyone in Ted Lasso is going to have some kind of emotional baggage and trauma, and he's from the kind of like kind of a developing country, maybe dealing with some strife and conflict and corrupt. So like there's probably some shit in his past, but
and in his future, I mean, he made a very powerful enemy.
He did
this season, so that's gonna come back.
God, that guy losing his shit at him was so fucking funny. Okay, we've warped back around to Matt Berry.
All right,
what we do in the shadows. Honestly, I think he's right up there, like maybe a notch below Nicholas Holt.
I mean, Matt Berry's amazing, but he's Matt Berry, right? He's Matt Berry in everything he's in, and it's a great.
He's just so
character.
Fucking funny. Just the way he talks and handles himself, like, listen and hawk. It's just like this. I don't know what you call it, because it's not even like faux intellectual. It's just Matt Berry's
grandiose
brand, man. Yeah, pompous
and grandiose, and
but also coarse and common.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to. It's a very unique cadence, and but he carries himself like he is. He's Matt Berry, who's kind of a schlubby dude, but he carries himself with the confidence and a swagger of like Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
minus the kind of like awkward, nervous energy. Like he just sells as a stud, and it's kind of amazing. Where I'm dead serious. I think he's right below. I think he rounds out our top 10.
Okay.
Did we talk about Keon Alexander? I think I did. Like he's just
pretty much.
What he's doing is really good, but it is awful one note. I just want to just strangle the life out of this guy.
And he's not as good at it as like a Joffrey, as a Jackie Gleason, right? Like.
Yeah, or a Nicholas Holt maybe, but he's good looking. That's part of the punchability of it, and he's got the almost Alan Rickman like pausing, and like Alan Rickman and Bill Shatner got together for the coaching class, and like the weird halting emphasis on things. It's good. We talked about Jared Harris. Like he's great. He's just in the movie. He's in it too little. And then Cassian Bilton. Did we talk about what we haven't
talked about why he's made this list.
Okay.
To me, this is a case of like, I was not impressed by anything he was doing until they showed me the contrast of what he can do. The character of Brother Don is kind of a nothing person, right? He's like very, very conflicted about his role in this
passive, spoiled
thing,
but also conflicted, and
but he's not like he's not to be taken seriously, because he's just learning, right? He's trying to become Brother Day. And I wasn't impressed by what Cassian was doing there necessarily, but then they show you a version of Brother Don. Sorry, this is very confusing. Who's on the outside of the Empire, and who is a very different character, who is like angrier and part of a resistance movement against the Empire.
Right.
And that duality is what really made me go, okay, Cassian can act.
Especially that scene where those two versions of him come into conflict, and to like mock the true brother Day, he like slips between those two performances in like a blink of an eye, and that's what made me like, oh shit, because think about, because he switched accents, demeanor, everything. And
in
that's
the same
pretty
sentence.
hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Andy Serkis doing Golem and Smeagol.
Right.
Like, except for he's also not in a face rig. He's actually doing it. Like, it's not I thought that was shows that this kid has got some layers, and I'm really excited to see what he does with Brother Day, you know, because these roles are going to be, as far as I know, in the whole series. I'm really interested to see how these guys all kind of like grow into these roles.
Yeah.
And how bizarre it's going to get. And we were talking to Jared Harris. I think that's our 16, our top 5. We're good with our top 5. Michael, really? Gordo is number 1?
I don't know, man. He's got a great arc and he nails it.
What do we say about people who says, well, what about Wes Chatham? What about Stephen Strait?
I mean, Stephen Strait was never destined to win a Baldy. No. Stephen Strait has been the Space Jon Snow for a long time, and that comes with connotations. And
Wes Chatham is just like, it's not, that's not a, he's amazing. He's badass.
Mm-hmm. This was not his season.
And also, he's kind of like the Hound in Game of Thrones. Like, he's always going to be talked about as an amazing character, but like they don't give him the scenes that. Yeah. And also his character is constructed in such a way that even if you give him a scene to really sink his teeth in, if he does, then he's not doing a good job playing Amos, because Amos is just disconnected from his emotions. And
I really felt like last season was his season, and I think he got more due in last year's Baldies.
But he's still not. Yeah. I don't know about Michael Dorman as the winner, but I also don't not know about it.
Right. I feel like I need a rundown of everything that he did, because I remember just a lot of stuff with his kids this season. Where they're trying to get him out of the pool, you know, like he's just super depressed, just wallowing around, and they're concerned for him, but he's trying to put on a brave face because he's their dad, and like I don't know, man. I'm kind of okay with him winning. And like I said, he's got that just unimaginable charm when he turns it on, and he does toward the end of the season.
But I look at Lee Pace and Hamish Patel, and I'm like, why not them? Like, honestly, I could make an argument for anyone in this top 5 being number 1. There's not a clear with a bullet number 1. Like, there's not a Kevin Garvey. There's not a
Jared Harris as
Captain Crozier
or Chernobyl, right? Like,
or there's not a consensus number 1, I don't think.
I feel you.
Because we didn't see Brian Cox in Succession.
Right.
I don't even know if he's the big gun in that thing. I feel like one of the other older male children, is the one everybody talks about. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, Gordo? For real? Gordo? I gotta say, though, that like the satisfaction of the Stevens couples arc in For All Mankind, like, it is really up there.
Yeah.
It's really up there in like just heroics and lumps in your throat and genuine emotion. And I don't think you get there without Michael Dorman and his mustache.
For sure. And I really love the way that they handled that relationship. If I recall correctly, it was, I mean, it was obviously very rocky. They separated for a long time, but they're like trying to navigate those waters of like, they've got the kids together, and things are rough between them, but they also still have a love for each other. That's
and I think Gordo realizes that he did let a lot of stupid dude bullshit get in the way, and he let the love of his life like this. And when you meet and you see how they met the first time, and what an awesome person that Tracy is.
God, those scenes are so good.
How awesome she was last season and her kind of arc. They're like. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the best female actor when we get the Tracy aspect of it. But yeah, I guess I'm talking myself into it because again, I fucking love the last 3 episodes of this season. It's some of the best television I've ever seen in my life, and it was gripping and exciting and emotional, and he was at the center of it. Lee Pace, great, towering, imposing, a unique character, but pretty hammy, pretty kind of pulpy even. Himesh Patel, that's the one I guess I would argue for a number 1 over Michael Dorman.
I was going to suggest what if we swapped Lee Pace and Himesh Patel?
And then Brother Day and Brother Dusk eternally struggling for 3rd place.
Locked in eternal combat.
I don't think Ted... Do you want to?
Nah, he just doesn't.
I could make an argument for over Terrence, though.
Really?
Those last couple episodes of Ted Lasso, from the funeral on, or like, is that the episode for the funeral where the therapist comes to make the house call on him?
I think so. I can't remember the exact timeline of that.
Those last few, like after the Coach Beard weirdo episode, that was a good run for Sudeikis. A really good run. And again, Terrence Mann did not have nearly as much to do. Although I don't know. The best episode of last season, The Foundation, was kind of centered around Terrence Mann, though, wasn't it? Brother Dusk. Like they did the whole where we got to see the cycle turn over. Dusk turned to darkness. Day being born, like that episode is amazing, and he did a lot of the stuff that was amazing in it.
Yeah, then again, Jason Sudeikis had an entire season of being a star. I don't know. I could maybe swap Sudeikis and Mann and call that. Is there
anybody that we'd rather have the top 5?
I don't think so.
To me, I think there is that's the one little bit of notch in the list, because there's the first 5 guys are very close, and no one had like a perfect character / season, but they're all like, rock paper scissors up at the top. There's a big drop off in my mind between Jason Sudeikis and like David Wilmot, but then again,
I think the line that drops off to me is after David Wilmot.
Nick Muhammad, with Nate, because then you're talking about really nichier roles and smaller moments, but. So what do you think, Terrence? I don't know that Jason Sudeikis needs to go for Terrence Mann. It's just an argument to have.
Yeah, I mean, if it's supported by screen time, then definitely Jason Sudeikis takes it. Because Terrence Mann is not the center by any means.
Not a consideration, but I don't know if it's the most important one. I'm fine with. You know what? Because like the thing is the top 5 is the top 5. I would sweat 5 and 6, 4 and 5, especially with. Again, these are all very subtle differences, and it's very subjective, and I wouldn't hate anybody to have any of these in their top 5 in a different position. And honestly, everyone in the top 10, you could probably make an argument for getting into that 5 slot. Okay, I think we're done with best male actor then.
All right, sweet.
All right, see you in the next deliberation.